welcome to the show. Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, for the remix of our second hour, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to be checking in with Coach Butch McAdams to give us the latest about Colin Kaepernick, Naomi Osaka, as well as talking about Tom Brady. And, of course, we're going to have another update from Ashley Banks to give us some details about what's going on with Jussie Smollett after that crazy hearing. So we're going to have those conversations. Plus, I got Culture crew member Rashad Staten. So stay with us for this second hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the second hour of today's show right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for checking in for our remixed version of today's show. Look, let's get into it. The second hour here, there's a lot to talk about in the sports world. Have you not noticed that there was something to talk about in the sports world? All right, first, one quarterback is trying to get in, and one quarterback that we thought was out was coming back in. Then we got to certainly talk about superstar Naomi Osaka and what has happened with her. So to give us all of the details, we're going to check back in with Coach Butch McAdams, the coach, and, of course, the host of In and Out of Sports that can be heard everywhere. Coach, thank you so much, brother, for joining us.
Man, I'm just a phone call away. Let's chop it.
I love it. In a few moments, folks, we're going to be joined by Culture crew member Rashad Staten to join us for this part of the discussion. All right, Coach, this was I would say this was another big weekend in sports, especially within the NFL.
Right.
We saw, of course, that the combine had just wrapped up. A number of teams are looking to, get their team set for the new season. Big changes. But my first story, and Coach, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I just don't understand anymore. And I'm saying this publicly. I don't understand what's going on with our brother Colin Kaepernick at this point. I just don't understand. Here's the situation for folks that don't know. He still hasn't given up on playing football for the National Football League, folks. He posted this video on Twitter. Check this out. He posted this video of him doing just some minor moves, just a little workout. You see Colin, with a windy day out there, but he's making some moves. And apparently he showed this video and he said, Coach, quote, "For the past 5 years, I've been working out and staying ready in case an opportunity to play presented itself. Man, do I miss throwing to professional route runners. Who's working? I will pull up."
Well,
Coach, what do we take from this? What do we make of this?
I think he is promoting himself. I think that it depends on what his goals and objectives are at this point. If he's going to be an activist, I think he's better suited out of football because in my opinion, the most, or certainly one of the most challenging tasks in all of sport is playing quarterback in the NFL. And Colin Kaepernick has not taken a snap, as you just alluded to, in 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
5 seasons. And so just to step back out there, if someone takes a shot on him, I don't know, man. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. Now, will someone give him an opportunity? If it's ever going to happen, this is the year, but I doubt it. I really doubt it.
So it's been 5 seasons since he has been on the playing field. Over that 5 years, a lot has happened with social justice in this country. Over the course of those 5 years, a lot has happened within the NFL and around how it handles social justice issues. And at this point, the NFL did get hit with some revenue loss as a result of Colin not being there, but it also started to gain more, especially with this last Super Bowl, where we saw the Super Bowl halftime show really brought in another audience.
That's right.
To the NFL. So you're saying that this may be, if there's no other time, this is the time to do it. But part of me is wondering, Coach, I have to say this. I'm wondering, what's the end game for Colin, do you think? Like, because people have literally stopped watching football because of this one man. And that's all well and good. That's personally, that's folks' decision. But what I don't understand is, as much as there's some people who say, well, the league is racist, the league is this, the league is that. But then at the same time, Colin is trying to get back into that system, into the league that folks are talking bad about. So I'm trying to reconcile, how does this make sense? Make it make sense for me, Coach.
Well, I'm gonna make it make sense from Kaepernick's perspective. He's a professional athlete. He's a professional football player. He loves it. That's his job. Look, and we'll get to this in a minute, we're talking about somebody that's in their mid 40s can't give it up. So a lot of those players, it's in their system. And I know he believes that at a tender age of 34 years old, which is young for a quarterback, that he can still play. And I don't have a problem with it. He is a football player who took a stand on a social issue. God bless him. But he's a football player also.
Right. That's his first love. That's his passion.
That's his first love. And then also, besides having a passion and a love for the game, it may be something inside saying, hey, I want to prove that I can still play. And I'm better than a large percentage of the guys who are backing up and a large percentage of the guys who are starters.
I don't doubt, and Colin, just to let folks know, Colin Kaepernick is 34 years old. So he still has a few years left in him. He still got some gas in the tank. I don't doubt about his athleticism. I mean, if you stayed consistent for 5 years, still putting in that work and all of those things, I'm like you, God bless him. But what I don't see is the NFL bending, because Colin Kaepernick also represents a source of embarrassment for the league. He also represents.
If as I stated earlier, if there is a time, this is the time. And what I mean by that is because of the poor imaging, because of the Flores suit, I think this is another way for the NFL to repair their image by someone taking a chance. Now, who would do that? What organization has that strength to do that? Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe.
That's the only team you see?
Well, I mean, there may be one or two others, but who knows? If Robert F. Smith, and I'm being told now he will put a bid in, if he purchases the Denver Broncos, then maybe the Broncos will give him a shot.
So this could be a very, very interesting offseason at this point, if we throw that into the mix.
It could be, and again, the most difficult task, in my opinion, is to be productive at the position of quarterback in the NFL. You can count them on your hand, and that's why the ones who are get paid handsomely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to see how this whole situation play out. Part of me is still at this place, like it's just not clear to me that of what his end game. I will continue to support Colin, but I still watch football. But I will continue to support. I will continue to support him as long as he gives us something. At this point, I mean, before we kind of had an understanding, but at this point, where's your head, Colin? Come on, brother, talk to us. Like, where is your head? What do you want the people,
but again, I look at it. I look at it in a different way. At the time, he saw an issue, and he took
that's fine. I'm cool with that. That part I'm cool with, Coach. But the part I'm not that I'm not clear on is at this moment. 5 years later, we at a different place across the board in a lot of different ways from the NFL and everything else. At this moment, what do you want the people to do? Because I think we need to say this, Coach. Colin never asked us to boycott the NFL.
No,
he never asked us to do that. That was something that we decided. And that we thought would be the best thing to show how valuable he is in his stand and how significant his stand was. But he never said, hey, I want y'all to boycott the NFL. Matter of fact, he never, I mean, outside of him saying, well, they, trying to adjust his narrative to their interest, he's always been pro NFL.
That's right.
He never said, hey, you know what? I think the NFL is a racist institution. I think they're treating black men bad. I think they don't. He never got into any other part about those other conversations that you and I have been having. So his activism has been kind of very specific. He talked about the police brutality thing, and then he's like, all right, I still want to play though. I still want to play, so y'all give me a chance to play, but we're going to have to work out how we do social justice.
That's right. Yeah. And look, 5 years ago, great, but if he wants to play, then God bless him. I don't know how effective he can be of missing 5 years, man.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, this is football. This is sports. This is all about your body being in top condition, top shape. You are
there's two different types of shape. Okay, there's just good physical conditioning, but then there's football shape.
Yep.
And he hadn't been hit in 5 years.
Right.
So look, if he wants to play and someone wants to take a chance on him, then hey, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Now, how good would he be? I think that remains to be seen. But I'll say this: sight unseen, he's got to be at least as good as some of the backup quarterbacks in this league.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he is. We believe that he is, but like you said, sight unseen, he got to be as good. We're going to bring in culture crew member Rashad in this very quickly. Rashad, I want to get your take before we move on to the next piece about to the next sports topic. But what's your take on Colin Kaepernick and his still staying ready 5 years later, waiting on the next opportunity in the NFL?
I believe it's is quite as simple as this. I say give this man a fair chance. Put him through some trainings, give him some testings and things of that sort. Every year you get a new class that goes through combines. If you can get him through some practice modes, different teams and things of that sort, show his capability, I think Coach actually has a great point. The physicality part, which he's been missing, but I think mentally he may be still prepared. Skill sets, he may still be prepared and willingness to be as productive as he was prior to him being dismissed from the league himself. But I say give this man a fair chance. Remove anything that has already tarnished his name and his brand, and then allow him to go back into it. If he sees that he's fit for it, at least give him the eligibility to try it out.
Absolutely.
Let me just say that was a great point that he made. Excellent. In that, I'm not asking a team to sign him sight unseen, but give him a tryout. Bring him in. Give him
That's
a
a good point.
tryout.
Yep.
Give him the opportunity to display the skills that he has remaining. And if his skills are good enough to be a quarterback, whether it's a starter or a reserve backup in the NFL, then sign him.
Yep.
So that's an excellent point. Give him at least the opportunity. Give him a tryout.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of new opportunities, let's move on. Let's talk about what many has called him the GOAT, Coach and Rashad. Tom Brady deciding to come back to the game just 40 days after he announced that he was done with it. Just yesterday, Tom posted a message on his Instagram and Twitter saying, "These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field and not in the stands. That time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa. Unfinished business, LFG." Unfinished
look,
business.
First of all, huh?
Now I'm just saying, I'm just making a point, Coach. The man said he got unfinished business. He's trying to get that 8, Coach.
Well, look, he loves the game. That's all this is about. This is about their camaraderie. This is about Sundays, the roar of the crowd, and the high that you get in being victorious. And hey, he still feels that he can play. And so, yeah, God bless him. His last game, he was impressive. Although they lost, it wasn't necessarily on him.
No.
So at 45 years old, they've got the recipe. They can, protect him, supply him with some good wide receivers. No problem with that. Now, here's the problem I have, and this is a little side note. People who call him the GOAT, for the most part, are of a generation that didn't see 2 other quarterbacks.
Uh-oh.
Now, I think he's in my top 3, but if I had to pick a quarterback to win one big game, he'd be my 3rd choice.
Who's your other 2, Coach?
Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana. I would take both of them. And it's no knock on Brady, but Brady has gone to what 7 Super Bowls or something.
Yeah.
I forget the number, but people don't remember that the New York Giants beat him twice.
Right.
All right. And I'm talking like Unitas and Montana, when they went to the big games in their prime, they didn't lose many.
And they were a lot different. The league was a lot different at that time. It was a lot rougher back then, too.
Oh man, it was far more. If Johnny Unitas and Lenny Moore, Raymond Berry, Baltimore, if they were playing, if let's say that trio were like 26, 27 years old, playing in today's rules, oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. Okay, but not the sidetrack. I don't have a problem with him coming back because he can still play.
There it is. And look, Rashad, at the end of the day, if you can still play, if you can still put up the numbers, if you can still keep people on their toes, why not?
Why not? I think we see this all the time. We see it through all the greats in all the different facets of sports, from boxing to basketball to baseball, even down to football.
Hell, even hip hop.
Yeah, even hip hop, right? That's one of my favorite. Jay never retires, right? I need an album from him every time I transition to another phase in life. So I feel the same way about our greats that's on the field and on the court, right? I think each time they sit back and they do a reflection, and that's a hard transition to living in your purposeful life, the majority of life doing what you love, and then having to transition into something else. That takes a lot socially and emotionally from you. But if you have the willpower, you still have the physicality, and like you said, they're still putting up productive numbers. Why not? All right, 23
and
years
I'm gonna
in the
go
game
back
seems far-fetched. But hey, if this man can do it, it's possible.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to the point that I've made several times this evening. There of the 32 teams in the NFL, How many quality quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks you have? Maybe 10.
Probably.
And so a 45-year-old Tom Brady is better than most of your quarterbacks in the league.
Hey, look, and look, he brings a like Coach Bruce Arians of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers say, 2 words: total excitement. And look, and at this point, I realize too, Coach, and I want to make sure, because I want to talk about this next story, but I do want to make this point that we don't have to put a cap. Like back in the day, you know it, Coach Rashard, you know it. Back in the day when it came to sports and entertainment, there was an age cap. Like once you get to a certain age, then people start to kind of like fade you out, dismiss you. Nowadays, that's not the case. Like if you mentioned that, you made that point, Rashard, you got a Tom Brady. So who's to say that at 45 you can't stop playing? You got to stop playing football. In music, we see it from
and the position. Yeah, and I think a lot is about the position, as we all know. Quarterback is one position that if you remain relatively healthy and you've taken care of yourself, that you can still be very productive. Now, there's no such thing as a 45-year-old cornerback, 45-year-old wide receiver, or 45-year-old running back. But we've had some quarterbacks, certainly not as productive and in their mid-40s as Brady, but I think a lot of it is a position.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Let's speaking of position, this next athlete was put in a terrible position, and I'm speaking of Naomi Osaka, the tennis superstar who was brought to tears when she played out in California in Indian Wells. She actually ended up crying on the court after a heckler, after she was being heckled by a spectator. And so essentially that got into her head and she was knocked out of the BNP Paribas Open in the second round on Saturday. Now, this is the same Naomi Osaka, the Japanese tennis star, who has struggled with mental health. She has said she has dealt with issues from depression to anxiety. And so she was taken off of her square. She has, like she mentioned, she was fighting for composure. And while this heckler was saying things like, Naomi, you suck. Look at this. Brought to tears, Rashad. And I think that part of my concern is that by her stating that she has been struggling with her mental health, that now people are going to try to take advantage of her, which is absolutely wrong. But they will try to test her to see how strong she really is or how strong she isn't. What's your take on it?
Oh man, I got a very different approach to this. One is I love to humanize people, right? And I think a lot of times when we see our athletes, our celebrities, or our public officials, we see them in the limelight and forget that they're human. So I think in this space, we have to have these tough, courageous conversations of how do we manage fanfare versus those that are intentionally causing some type of harm to that person, right? You can have this focused, locked in mentality, but if she's already said plenty of times before she's dealing with her own internal things, then what at the time does the institution, does the sports field, and does the coaches and even security step in and be a wall of protection, right? And I think that has to be addressed. We see there's plenty of times now, even in the NBA, where you're seeing major big time athletes are now pointing to fans and asking them to be removed, because at one point it becomes a space of unsafety. It's not safe, it's unhealthy, and it's not productive if someone is to show up. And these are people's full-time job. They get paid to be productive athletes, to put up numbers, to win, right? To do these things for their country or for their teams. But when you have someone that is nagging you, or you being the net or the mosquito or at the barbecue, you can't enjoy the experience. So now this person here, she's dealing with her own. You caused them to go into a traumatic type of experience that they now have to go back and sit alone outside of just on the big stage. They have to deal with themselves internally. And then you don't want to be that one that wakes up and this person caused some type of harm to themselves and you thinking You just wanted to go viral or just have a laughable moment that causes someone to physically harm themselves or harm them to lose their mental state. I don't think it's cool. I think it needs to be addressed, and I think we need, as people, to start humanizing each other. Can't say that we all want to say safe space, but then we don't expect the same safe space to be given to our athletes, our elected officials, and our entertainers and celebrities. Like, they're still people.
Absolutely. Coach, one of the things that Naomi said was that, you know, she played at Indian Wells, and she said that she remembers seeing footage of Venus and Serena Williams being booed and jeered at Indian Wells at a tennis tournament back in 2001. And she said it. She said, to be honest, I've been heckled before and it didn't really bother me. But like heckled here, this is what she said. I watched the video of Venus and Serena getting heckled here. And if you never watched it, you should watch it. She said, and I don't know why, but it went into my head and it got replayed a lot.
Well, so my question is, Venus and, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, did she psych her own self out in that moment?
She has, absolutely. And several things to comment. Venus and Serena, I would go back and ask the question, they may have been booed, but did they emerge victorious? How did they play? How did they finish? And listen, there is a line. There is a line. But sporting events, the fan pays his or her money for a ticket. And I think they're allowed to cheer for their favorites and boo their opponents. I see no problem with it. Now, if you're shouting racial epithets and just vulgarity, then yeah, that you crossed the line and that person should be removed. But talking trash is a part of sport. And certainly if the young lady, Osaka, if she's still dealing with some emotional issues, then she needs to get those issues straightened out before she hits the court again. Yeah, because what I would do, and I don't know whether, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I would hope that she would take a heckler and use that as motivation to win.
Yep. I agree. You got to turn your pain into power.
Yeah, I just saw the shop episode yesterday, and LeBron said, "Man, I look for a hater in the crowd, and that person is my motivation for that time." So I agree with Coach. There is a delicate balance, right? In sports, you have to find that internal motivational piece for you. Then we also have to just be mindful of people that's dealing with their internal things as well. But like Coach said, it's to remain victorious. And if your mental health is the priority, then you may not need to be on that field or that court until that issue has been resolved.
Hey, Coach, we got like 30 seconds left. I want you to tell a story of Muhammad Ali.
Well, two quick stories, real quick. Muhammad Ali was boxing, and it was a fan sitting at ringside, was calling him all types of names, criticizing him. And after the fight, the reporter said, "Well, champ, did you hear what the lady at ringside was saying about you?" He said, "Yeah, I heard it. Did it upset you?" He said, "No, I welcome it." He said, "Why?" "Because she was sitting in a $500 seat." and the other story, real quick, is this white racist walks into a bar, and everyone in the bar is white except this one black lady. And he looks around and said, "A round of drinks for everybody but that black lady." You know, he didn't use those words, but use your imagination. So he brought everybody in the bar around. He called the lady a name. She looked and smiled. He said, "Another round for everybody but that so-and-so." And her smile got bigger. And so he asked the bartender, "Well, what's wrong with her? I just insulted her twice. And she's smiling at me." And the bartender said, "She's the owner of the bar." So, you know what? As a coach and as a player, I love the trash talking. I love it. You know what? Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach, and I know you saw this, and as we wrap up, but I don't, the trash talking, when we talk about that trash talking, we got to talk about what happened with KD and who was that this past weekend, that he was talking trash hard. LeBron loved it. LeBron tweeted it and said, look, that's just part of the competition. That's just part of the game,
man. Listen, anybody who play basketball or any competitive sport, but especially basketball, my reference, you're going to have people talking trash.
Yep.
That's and traditionally or historically, who one of the biggest trash talkers in the history of the NBA was?
Michael Jordan.
No, this guy was bigger than Michael.
Okay.
Larry Bird.
I was going to say Larry Bird.
Larry would look over at the opposing coach and say, "Coach, you better get this guy off me. He can't guard me." And then he would go up to Dominique Wilkins and say, "Okay, Nick, this is the play. And they're going to pass me the ball. I'm going to dribble to you. I'm going to get a screen, and I'm going to shoot the jump shot." And then Bird would walk into the three-point shooting contest at the All-Star game every year and say, "All right, who's going to finish second this year?" I love that kind of stuff, man.
Coach, we got to end it right there, but we truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us for these important sports conversations today. We thank you
always
so much
a phone call away, man.
Absolutely. Coach Butch
you.
McAdams, folks, and he serves as the host of In and Out of Sports, the radio show. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's check in with Ashley Banks to give us the latest developments in the Jussie Smollett case. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, last week we gave you the update about Jussie Smollett, the former actor in Empire, who was sentenced to 150 days in prison as a result of him. The allegations was that he planned a hoax, a hoax that was based in racial hatred. And as a result of that, he was sentenced to 150 days. And we had a conversation with reporter Ashley Banks to give us some of the latest details in regards to his case. We wanted to bring Ashley back because now there is some great concern coming from Jussie Smollett's legal team and his family, saying that the longer he's in prison, the likelihood that something will happen, something fatal can possibly happen. His team has demanded the immediate release, citing threats, his health, and COVID. I want to bring into the conversation Ashley Banks, as well as our culture crew member, Rashad Staton. Ashley, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Always great to be here.
Ashley, talk to us about what we're seeing with this case. I mean, last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we saw, I think it was Thursday,
yes,
Jussie was sentenced to 150 days. He started serving that time over the weekend, but now his legal team has decided to move forward on getting an appeal done, but they're thinking, look, while this appeal is being processed, we need to get Jussie out of prison because his family are getting all types of harassing messages and death threats, which I don't understand. They're saying that now that it's been reported that he's been placed in a psych ward, that he's not in a healthy state of mind. And also, of course, COVID. What's been going on from what you've been gathering?
Yeah, like you're saying, Farajii. So he was placed in a psych ward in the Cook County Jail on Thursday, the same day that he went in to prison to serve his 150-day sentence. Now, the prison, they were just concerned by his outbursts in the courtroom where we saw last Thursday, where he just kept saying, I am not suicidal, I am innocent, had his fist raised as he left the courtroom, saying the same thing. And he stated this unprovoked. And like I said to you last Thursday, Farajii, I thought that this was a case of mental illness because no one asked him about his safety. No one asked him if he was suicidal. Of course, other people were saying maybe he's thinking about what happened to Jeffrey Epstein or what happened to Sandra Bland. And he just wanted the world to know that if something happened to him, that he wasn't responsible for his own death. But me, when I was watching it, I'm obviously not a mental illness or mental health expert, but it just seemed like that was something that needed to be explored. And so it comes as no surprise that he is there, but his family is stating that they are concerned that it makes no sense that he's at a psych ward because he's not going to hurt himself. One of his brothers posted a video to Jussie's Instagram page the other day, basically just saying there was a note placed on his file saying that Jussie was going to hurt himself or that there were signs he would hurt himself. And his brother is claiming that's incorrect. There is no way that he would hurt himself. So obviously it seems like we're getting conflicting messages about what's going on here. Like you said earlier, the fact that the family is getting death threats, I'm not sure how that makes sense and why they would be receiving death threats. But there's a lot going on here. And so the family wants him out of there. The legal team wants him out of there. And I'm not sure, Farajii, but what's her name? I'm sorry. The actor, the co-star that was on, Taraji P. Henson, that was on the Empire with Jussie, came out and she's basically like, you don't have to agree that he's innocent. That doesn't matter. But she was saying that the punishment doesn't fit the crime and that Jussie should not be in jail. She's receiving criticism now because she compared Jussie Smollett's case to Emmett Till's case.
Oh
and
my God.
Said, yeah, at first it sounded really bad, but I read up on it. And basically she was saying where Caroline Bryant, the woman who allegedly falsely accused Emmett Till of whistling at her, is not in jail. And she should be. She is the reason why Emmett Till is dead. But we have here Jussie Smollett, who made false claims, but no one's dead. And so she's basically, it's extreme. And everyone's like, you should never compare what's going on with Jussie. Oh my gosh,
that was, yeah. I try to think, I try to, pride myself to thinking from other people's point of view. terrible analogy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Farajii didn't have a heart in the right place, but you and I and Rashad, we all know that Emmett Till was a totally different case. I mean, yes, lying was at the root of the case, right? Like you said, Ashley. But when you say Emmett Till, that's just there's still some that's like an open wound that has yet to be fully healed. I mean, even today, the family is trying to get his case to be reviewed again.
Yeah, I just did a article on that. Yep.
Right. So you know, and I hear what we're saying. I mean, look, we've said it on this platform. I don't want to see the brother hurt in any type of way. I do believe that he was behind the you know, this whole situation. I you know, and I feel like Rashad, like he's putting himself in a situation where now it's like, are you doing this to continue to keep people talking, or is this really like, what is going on, brother? Like if it's a mental health thing, I don't know whether he should have mentioned something during the court proceedings or not. Say, look, guys, look, I really wasn't in my best state of mind. I was, you know, maybe that would have helped him, but I don't know how we could process all of these things happening, and then they're calling for his release from prison, because he did, based upon the evidence, based upon the trial. If you falsify a police report, if you go as far as to commit a fake hate crime, you're going to be penalized.
Yeah, I think it's a multitude of things that is happening with this particular case in itself, and I think even times we still don't know the truth, right? Which is always my lens on media and what the story is telling. Like, so I can only speak to what I'm conceptualizing and making sense of. But I think that, you know, regardless of any circumstance, me just being a black man, I wouldn't wish incarceration or imprisonment on my worst enemy or anyone, right? That's just not a space of anybody to come into being their whole selves again. It's just no rehabilitation in what imprisonment is and how it functions as a system. So even if he is dealing with these mental health issues, that may not be the best place for him to be at nonetheless. So I wish the best for that brother, his family, and everyone else, despite his lack of character for the times that has caused him to be in the situation that he's in. But what I want to lead is just that part of him making that outburst. Yeah, it may have been untimely, but that call to action brings up a conversation that we may all want to consider of, you know, possible state-sanctioned deaths behind the walls that has been written off as something else that we often do not have the privy to get information to make our own truths and reality of it. For him to state that, I would hope to wake up and see that this brother has been harmed either through self-harm or being, you know, a victim of a violent crime, and then we not hear his cry and take it seriously, right? But is at that time, or do we society can say that this man is crying wolf, right?
Yeah.
Who is us to discern what is truth versus reality? But if we can put things in place to help him to move out of it and move in a better place, then let's do that. But when he said that, my first thing was, wow, I thought this was probably a very proactive stance to make, although it's unorthodox in the court setting to say that. But how many times have we seen people mouths get muzzled before they were sent behind after being sentenced, right? So it's like, man, while I still have a voice before I get muzzled behind these walls with limited communication, I might as well state my claim that I am not suicidal despite me dealing with mental health issues. Right, because we look at Hernandez, we look at Epstein's, we look at all of the others, the Blands and things of that sort. And no, I would not compare it to an Emmett Till case at all. But these have all been some untimely deaths while being in prison that we still to this day don't know the truth from reality.
But here's the thing, Ashley, have you come across any information? Have you heard anything where his not his parents, but his family or anybody in his camp has alluded to the fact that he has mental health issues? Like, even before this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't get to know Jussie Smollett until watching Empire. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what his path has been in terms of, you know, his mental health struggles. But has there been any indication that he was undergoing some mental health challenges before this whole scenario broke down, got started?
Farajii, no. Like you, I had never heard of Jussie Smollett until Empire either. But there was that case in 2007 where he was pulled over for DUI and he impersonated his younger brother. At the time, he was 25. And so the special prosecutor used that as an example to prove that he isn't credible and that he has a history of lying and falsifying information. And so his family, though, has just been behind him and supporting him like most families would. But I'm questioning whether they are enabling his behavior. Obviously, we don't know what happened here. We don't know the answers. And if he, like you and I, believe that he is guilty of falsifying this information and creating this hoax, but there hasn't been any understanding of why he would have created this. And to your question earlier about whether it would have been easier if Jussie said that he had a mental health issue, he would have had to have pled guilty. And it seems like he doesn't want to do that. In order to use mental health as a defense, you have to plead guilty. And so in this case, he's just maintaining that he's innocent. His family continues to say the same thing. And so no one has brought up the issue of possibly he has a mental health issue. If he does, it's been hush hush. It's a family secret, but that has not been revealed to the public at this time.
I want us to play just a little bit of what his brother Jockey, I think that's his name, is it Jockey Smollett, had to say on Instagram in regard. And this was just done, I think it was on Friday or Saturday, Ashley, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Yeah, take a look at this.
So Jussie is currently in the psych ward at Cook County Jail. What's very concerning is that there was a note attached to his paperwork today and put on the front of his jail cell saying that he's at risk of self-harm. I want to just make it clear to folks that he is in no way, shape, or form at risk of self-harm. And he wants to let folks know that he is very stable, he is very strong, he is very healthy and ready to take on the challenge that ultimately has been put up against him. This is not right. This is completely lack of justice. It's angering, it's an outrage, but he ultimately knows what he needs to do. So we want to make sure that folks understand that, whatever inside Cook County Jail what assumptions they may be making. I don't know why they even have him in a psych ward. We still have not gotten clear answers there and why he's even in a psych ward. And they've recently added to his documentation that he's at risk of harming himself. That is absolutely not true. So please make sure y'all are spreading facts. The media is going to report a lot of false information. And we really need our people, the people who support us, to continue checking folks and making sure that false information does not go unchecked. So on top of that, if folks could really continue reposting things, there's been a post from my page, from Jake's page, from Jazz's page, from Journey's page, all around the hashtag Free Jussie hashtag. If you could repost that, repost similar images, make your own images, always just include the hashtag Free Jussie. And we think it's best if you tag Cook County Jail along with it. We're really just trying to make sure we can get as much engagement and attention on this injustice as possible.
All right, I want to stop it right there. It sounds like to me, Ashley, hey, the family stance is we believe him. Now, here's the thing. Here's one of the things that, again, I haven't been in this position before, so I could be totally green on this. If I'm going through all of this whole scenario of going through trial, getting arrested, having a trial, all of this time, this happened back in 2019, it's 2022. At some point, I'm not going to go, like, I'm going to keep saying, look, I don't know who did this. I mean, I'm going to put up some names, something like to stop this level of injustice. Like by him just saying he's not the one responsible, but having a history of lying. I'm wondering, well, why hasn't any new information come up? Why hasn't new names come up in this case? I'm wondering, why hasn't the family said, look, we believe it's so-and-so or such and such? Why the testimony of the brothers that were involved in this case, all of these things don't fit the narrative that the Smollett family is standing for. And I'm not trying to go back, but I'm just saying, in the hindsight, it's still people are still trying to determine whether he's guilty or innocent, let alone whether he deserves 5 months in prison.
Right. And the fact that the family is still pleading and saying that Jesse is innocent, it makes people question what is really going on. Farajii, we know that the Chicago Police Department is corrupt, right? There have been issues that have been brought up. I mean, we have a list. I could be here all day talking about it. But that doesn't mean that they were corrupt when it came to this case. And like you're saying, this has been going on since 2019. Where's new evidence to support what's happening? Where's new evidence that you can present, Jesse, or your family can present, saying that you are indeed innocent? The family, all they said is that this story of him hiring these Nigerian brothers is just false. It's just completely incorrect. And it's like, okay, if that's the case, then what happened here? Can you get another investigator to figure out what's happening, what's going on, or who may want to come after you, right? Who may want to fabricate this story and put you in jail, like basically feeding some of the conspiracies or feeding into some of the speculations. But it is interesting that nothing new has been brought forward. But my question is, I don't understand why his family is going so hard and supporting him so hard. I talk to my family, my siblings, and I'm just like, if you guys have done something wrong, I will always love you, but you better believe I'm not going to continue to put my name out there backing you. If you know what you did is wrong, I know what you did was wrong. You have to face the consequences. That's just how it goes. You do the crime, you face consequences. Whether you believe these consequences are harsh or not, the special prosecutor proved that he was wrong, that he created this hoax, and that he had done things like this before. And so it's going to be interesting to see what his family continues to do as they continue to maintain that he's innocent.
Yeah, Rashad, what do you take from Jesse's brother putting it out there? And because we're getting conflicting information. First, we're hearing from his brother saying Jesse is strong. He's ready to confront with the challenge that's been put before him. But then the reports are saying, get this man out of prison. He's under great threat. He's under great stress. How do we determine what is going on and what's the right narrative in this case?
Yeah, I think wow. Empathy and compassion probably the only things that's going to get us through this whole situation. Seeing that none of us is actually living through it ourselves. I think what his brother is doing is what any brother would do, like Ashley said, with any family. Your intuition initially is going to be to support your blood, despite the right or wrong. But so I think that's the case of them trying to make a stance that, hey, my brother's still strong. He's not the one that's trying to potentially harm him. There may be other harm elsewhere that we can't, pinpoint, but it's clearly in the universe somewhere because it's being spoken of, although it's not being shared in full transparency. Yeah. But the reality of it is this: I think they don't want him to be, to face those same consequences of being in prison for that much time because of what it can possibly do to him, or they feel as though he's not deserving of whatever the consequences is placing on him. So you see in them trying to rally on emotion and morale. On the other end, they're still trying to use the legal system as well to get around certain things that could possibly be imposed in him as far as the consequences of his actions. And
very quickly with that, Ashley, with Rashad, the point that Rashad just made, and I see another one of our viewers, Christopher Perkins, said he is making it worse by going through all of this, by saying, oh, no, this wasn't me and all of that. Like, is he making it worse? Because essentially, look, we know that black men going into the prison system, I said this last week, when you stand in front of a judge as a black man, you don't know how your life is going to be determined and dictated, right? So you really could have gotten years off of something like this, right? It's a federal offense because you created a hate crime. You falsified a police report. You could have gotten some real serious time, but you got 5 months. You got 5 months. Do you think he's making it worse for himself by adding all of the other stuff?
I would say yes, but it would make the average person and even some of us question, is there more to this story? I would love for Jussie to be innocent. I would love for this to be a case of him being framed or something else going on. But it just makes you question what's really going on here. Is this a case of mental illness? Is this a case of somebody who's just in complete denial and wants to maintain this innocent image? Or it just makes you question what's really going on here. But yeah, if he really did this, if this is true, there's nothing else out there, then yeah, he's making matters worse because what he did is not right. Like I said before, it is making it worse. His hoax is making it worse for real victims of hate crimes. It's making the Black community look bad, making the brown community look bad, the LGBTQA community look bad. And so, yeah, it's a horrible thing. But once again, maybe there's more to the story and only time will tell.
You know what? It feels like, and I hope I'm not wrong in my analysis of this. It just feels like one of those OJ moments, like you don't know whether he did it or he didn't. You know, after a while. And the sad part about it is, you know, you here's a young man, a young brother, and I had an opportunity to meet Jussie like years ago at a social justice rally. We did it in DC with my sisters from Tamika Mallory and Linda Salsor and all my sisters and family from the Justice League. And we did this event, and Jussie Smollett was sitting at this event, just standing there listening. And I was like, me and my wife, we were like, oh, it's Jussie Smollett. And then next thing you know, he took a few pictures with us, and he was cool. And this is when he was on Empire. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, this is a real cool brother, boom, boom, boom. And then this situation happens, and it's like, you just don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. At the end of the day, you don't know. So I hope that the brother is well. And I do believe that if you do wrong, there are going to be consequences. I agree with you on that point, Ashley. And at the same time, like you said, Rashad, it's just to keep empathy in your heart. I don't want to see the brother in a worse position. I think he's gotten beaten down enough as it is. Just do the time, come out, rebuild your life, brother, and God willing, things will work out for you. But this is a very, very interesting case, to say the least. Ashley, you know we're going to have to call you back. Something else is going to come up with this case and other conversations. So, Ashley Banks, thank you so much, sis. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Rashad. Hey, brother, thank you so much for checking in for a little bit. I know you're a busy man, but we thank you for your time as well, Rashad. So thank you, brother.
Peace. Always for the culture.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in today to today's Remix Show. We hope that you certainly enjoy it. Make sure you tell your family and friends and all of your folks about the culture right here on the Black Star Network. And thank you for your continued support of what we've been able to do over these past 6 weeks. Tomorrow, we're going to get into some more great conversations. We're going to talk about, did you know that this is the third year of the pandemic? Hopefully, this is the year of the endemic. We're going to talk about COVID and a whole lot more with the team, with the crew tomorrow. So make sure y'all tune in. Also, make sure you support us at Black Star Network at blackstarnetwork.com. You can get all of the latest updates about what we're doing with our programming. And, of course, keeping up with Brother Roland, because you know he be rolling. But find out where he is next. You can always check him out at blackstarnetwork.com. And, of course, continue to give your donations through the various platforms there. But we appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. And God willing, we'll be back tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture at the 6 o'clock hour. Make sure you stay tuned for Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here exclusively on the Black Star Network. Peace.